Hey everybody, welcome to the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. And for those who are on YouTube for the first time, I have a guest on our YouTube channel. Very excited about this. His name is Craig Eagles, and he is the color analyst for Rogers TV New Brunswick. He's also a Quebec Major Junior Hockey League scout for the Canadian Maritime region. You can follow him on Twitter at Eags37. That's EAGS37. Can't go wrong with the Patrice Bergeron number. Craig Eagles, welcome back, my friend. How's it going?
It's great to be back, Mark, and thanks again for having me on. You guys are doing some amazing things down there, and it's always a pleasure to come on.
Awesome. I really appreciate that. Yeah, we're starting to get everything more involved in the interviews. We're doing a lot of revamping, a lot of moving parts around, but we're trying to get it all together during the off season and be ready by September 1st, because as you know, September is a big month for Canadian Hockey League leagues and players. So first, I just wanted to say thank you again for your time today. And I know you're not feeling well. Took a little nap, but it's all good. But
I was born ready, Mark. I'm born ready.
That's why I love your determination. That's why you're a trooper. But I wanted to have you on to talk about what's going on concerning Bruins prospects of yesterday and the new ones that are coming through the queue, especially in your area. But I really wanted to just to talk about Cedric Pare, because we both had high expectations for Cedric, and things didn't work out with him in Boston. And I don't want to get into details because I personally don't know and don't want to speculate. But you spent a lot of time with him in the St. John Sea Dogs for a better part of 3 seasons. I know he only played in the 2015-16 campaign. He only played 5 games. But the next 2 seasons, he was 64 and 60. But you spent a little bit of time with him. What do you think about his future, and where could he go?
Well, let me be the first to I had him projected to be I thought he'd be a solid pro, and we've been on and we've been talking about Cedric quite a bit. It's unfortunate that things didn't work out, and being a 6th-round draft pick, I think there's a bit of projection there, and in the scouting world here in New Brunswick, I'm scouting the top 15-year-olds in the province in Atlantic Canada and in the Maritimes for the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. So we like my scouting line, I have to project them at 19. And what type of player are they going to be in the league at 19? And I think seeing Cedric progressed like he did, and then I really thought he would have a better year with Rimouski. And I think the game that I saw him and talked to him after, he just, there was a little bit of consistency there in a feeling out process with a new coach. But I really, it's hard to say, is it foot speed? Is it puck skills? But I still believe that he's going to play professionally. I just don't know where right now, because when the signing period passed, I didn't want to reach out to the player. You can well imagine how disappointing that is for the player and his family. Don't take anything away. This kid worked extremely, extremely hard to get to that point where he is in his career, and it just didn't work out. And there was a little, after his 2nd year in St. John, the team released that he was going to Providence. I reached out to the player, and he said, well, it's a maybe. I said, well, okay, the team just released it that you're going down. And he's like, well, it's still in the works. It's a maybe. So I wrote the article anyway, Providence bound, and it just didn't work out. And you see those things a lot in hockey. And you know, I'll be the first one to say maybe I projected incorrectly. I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
Right.
Everyone makes mistakes. But there's some aspect there when the Bruins didn't sign him. And I was very fortunate to interview Don Sweeney during a broadcast, and we talked about Cedric briefly and Jacob. And Don, like he always does, handled it professionally, and that was just as the trade period and the trade deadline was approaching. So they were about a week and a half away from NHL trade deadline. So I had to ask the question. I said, well Don, what areas and where are you going to, any deals that you can report to us right now? And he just kind of looked at me. He's like, well, nothing that I'm willing to share. So, but yeah, I think he's going to have and he's part of the plan in Rimouski right now as a 20-year-old. They're going places this year. They're going to load up and try to make a run for the President Cup and the Memorial Cup with Lafreniere. This is their big year. So expect big things. And listen, Mark, Cedric had a career year last year.
Yeah, he had 49 points in 68 games, 17 goals, 32 assists, and by far his best year in the Q. But I thought after that season and what little playoffs he did play when he got 5 points in 13 games, I thought that he was going to get a better look at with the Bruins. But unfortunately, the qualifying offers didn't go out, and along with Daniel Bukash too. Unfortunate, but. I mean, these things happen. But one of the things that I wanted to basically really touch on this topic was there's a lot of people, a lot of Bruins fans, not all of them, but there's some of them that are intelligent enough in the prospect world to kind of go and call out scouting. Now, I am not like that. I mean, when you scout and you draft, it's such a gamble. So if a player doesn't sign with the team, or things don't work out between the player and the team and the player, you can't go back. And a scout like Alan Bissonnette, I'm sure that he was in the area, cannot be to blame for this. He saw something at that time, but in the future things just didn't work out. So,
well, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned Alain. I try to pick his brain a lot, and he's a good man. And he's a hard worker, and I don't think you can blame the scouts. And I know, oh wait, you know, it's their job and all this stuff. Well, they're projecting as well, and you cannot fault the player in this case for not working hard,
right? Because
he did, and things just didn't work out. And you see that, you know, over the years, and really hoping that. Cedric picks up on another organization and flourishes, but I think he's got you know, some years ahead in pro hockey.
Yeah, I mean, and from our experience, and I've watched tons of his games, not every one of them, but I do my due diligence and I grab a handful of games here and there and I watch. But I saw a big difference in him because he got a higher role when Joe Veleno was traded, and obviously, you know, and then he went too. But you know, when Veleno was gone and the big name is out of the picture, he went up basically from a bottom tier to a top tier freaking role and expectations, and I thought he did really well.
I thought he did. Yeah, I thought he did well as well, Mark. And the big thing with Cedric, he's not going to be a big point getter, and you know, he increased his point totals significantly in Rimouski, but I really think that he's going to have a big year for that hockey club. And Serge Beausoleil behind the bench, he's in the dual role in Rimouski. And again, from my source, close to the team and close to the organization in Rimouski, Cedric is part of their plan. So to be an overager on a club like that, and Lafreniere is going to be gone.
Yeah,
or, you know,
20 draft.
Right? And it's his draft year. So there's going to be a lot of attention. So really the big thing there is, you know, for Cedric is playing that two-way role that we were accustomed to seeing. And that's big. So again, hopefully he can land and flourish with another organization.
How about old friend Jakub Zboril? And his your thoughts on his last year, his entry level deal? He's got 2 NHL games under his belt, more or less coverage games, and let's see what you can do games. I thought in his 2 games, I thought he did okay. Nothing, you know, outstanding, but his role in the middle and the minor pro depth, I think has been outstanding. I think he's been everything that the organization would like to see in a player like that, a blue liner. And I like what I see when he works with newer players to the Providence Bruins and that leadership role. So where do you think he fits in? And you're a huge Boston Bruins fan, who knows the roster pretty well. And you see the contracts that are already on the books from capfriendly.com. Where do you see Zboril fitting into any future plans with the Boston Bruins in the NHL?
That's a great question, Mark. I think right now, Jakub has to have a very good year here in his contract year, really. I think he has to stay healthy. We still haven't seen the best from Jakub. I know he's a 13th overall draft pick. I know there's tons of pressure. I know that the fan base had you know, where there's pressure there to perform. And the fan base really were very critical of those draft picks. I think you're seeing progression in his all-around game. And to see where he's come from to where he is now is, you know, I know the point totals. Again, forget about the point totals. This guy is going to be hopefully an Andrew Ference type defenseman at the next level.
Good comparison. And
right now, and can he play both sides? I think he can. Right. And, you know, I think he can play the right side at the next level. He can play a strong side very well. It's a less is more approach. And some people are going to say, well, what do you mean by that? Well, it's a less is more. And it's always been that way for Jakub. Okay. When he simplifies his game and concentrates on making that first pass, he's very effective. And then he lets his instincts take over. His instinct to jump into the play. He's got a pro shot. And I think you've seen that so far with his time in Providence. Is he going to get more games at the NHL level? Well, we'll wait and see. And I think that it's going to be a trickle-down effect. Like, they've got to get Carlo signed, and they got to get McAvoy signed.
Yeah.
And hopefully they sign. I can't see them signing McAvoy to a bridge contract. I think you're going to see Carlo get a bridge, and McAvoy is going to get the term. I don't know, but I think that's really dependent upon their contracts going first, and then Jakub hopefully getting more games at the NHL level. And hey, let's hope in a real good world everyone stays healthy, and he's really got to earn his place there. So, and it's not easy either. Like you look at other defensemen, taken in the top 15 in the NHL draft, entering their third season, in pro.
Yeah,
they're probably already playing at the NHL level. But in Boston, with the depth that they had, and with the development of McAvoy and of Carlo, it's going to be tough. And he is, like you hit the nail on the head. He's going to be a depth type player. I still think he can be a 5'6" guy and a very effective guy sooner than later at that level.
Yeah, with the additions of Jurho and so on, it's just and his hype, it just seems that a lot of people are overpassing Zaboral and his efforts thus far. I just think that a lot of the narrative just comes from people that just don't pay enough attention to, like we do, to these types of players. I think it's very stat driven. But when you do talk about stats and you do have a little bit of the eye test, I could definitely tell that in St. John's in his first season, he was a very offensive defenseman. But on the second year, it was like a step back from the offensive defense, and I want to work on being a shutdown guy. It wasn't just because he was a lack of points. I think that he was trying to be different players. And in development, and I'm not any development specialist or anything like that, but it just seems like when you play certain types and then you step back, you're learning the overall game.
Yeah, Paul Boudelier was very, very good for his development. Boots really worked hard with that D-core, and Jakob. I think after the draft year, and people have to realize that import players in the CHL struggle. They struggle, and it's a big adaptation for them and a big adjustment for them to make. And I think you saw the progression in Jakob, and his willingness to play both sides, and his willingness to be a two-way guy. And really, if you look at it, my eye test is he disciplined, right? Is he disciplined? Is he not taking those types of penalties?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's really settled into his role. And when they went on their President Cup run, that was big, really big for his confidence. I thought he had a great playoff and a very, very solid year in St. John. And then, going into Providence, I think he's done well. But like I said earlier, he needs to stay healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you talk about Providence and stats, we're going to go on the stats right now. But in both years in Providence, and I find this is amazing. This has got to be a mistake somehow. But in both years in Providence, he's got 4 goals, 15 assists, 19 points, and even the penalty minutes are the same at 38. It's just crazy. So,
and you wouldn't want him like, oh, you got to have more penalty minutes. No, you don't. He's a good hard-nosed defenseman, and that can play, the second power play unit because he's skilled enough.
Right. But you also didn't select a defenseman out of the Western Hockey League like Brandon Carlo, the aforementioned that we talked about, which I was very leery about his penalties. I mean, that guy was getting a penalty, at least on average 3 penalties a game throughout the season. So I was like, I don't know, but yeah, 38 penalties is far from being bad.
Carlo had a spectacular year. He was phenomenal.
Tri-City.
Yeah, and even with the Bruins this year, to see him really blossom and grow into the player that I think we all kind of knew he could be. And he was very, very good in the playoffs, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was good to see him in the playoffs this year.
Yes.
That's a bonus right there. Moving on to another Bruins prospect currently in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League with the Rouyn-Noranda Huskies, the Memorial Cup winning Rouyn-Noranda Huskies, is Jacob Lacko. And I hope is it Jakob or Jacob?
Jakob, I think.
It's Jakob,
yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, him and Zaboral are from their countrymen, so I'm sure it's the same.
Yeah.
But this kid drafted in the 4th round. Sorry, the 3rd round, 77th overall, from the Czech Republic. Not overly great numbers overseas, but comes to the Bruins after the 2018 draft. Goes right into development camp, and that's when I really, really noticed him and his skill set, his speed. And then he goes to the Huskies for the first year and gets 41 points in 44 games. That's 21 goals, 20 assists. So My question, and this is going to be interesting because he's a very like iconic player in the Bruins depth. There's a lot of people that really want him. The guy left the podium and they want him in a Bruins uniform already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, from the people, folks like yourself that I talk to, and I kind of get in the ears, this is the type of player that's going to be good, but he's a work in progress. And the biggest thing on him was, and I'm hearing from the Rouyn-Noranda Huskies play-by-play announcer on the radio. I don't know. I'm really bad with names, and I totally forgot his name. But he was a guest on Guy Flaman's program, the podcast. I can't remember what it is right now. I'm going to kill it. But anyway, it mentioned that he was very frustrating to work with learning the two-way game. Now, is that something to do with going from bigger ice to the smaller rinks and playing a more defensive style?
I think the kid did phenomenally well. I think, personally, you come over for the first time ever playing on small ice, new country, new city, new organization, new team. Everything is new. And you put 20-20 and then dominate in the playoffs. And then was their best player, arguably their best player in the Memorial Cup, an energy guy that brought it, that made things happen. I would have to disagree with the two-way game. I think that's development.
Yeah.
That's progression. And sure, there's going to be some nights where it's, he's not going to play as much, and Mario Pouliot will take care of that. But I think Mario Pouliot said it best. And when I interviewed him and wrote the article on him, it was right after Christmas time. And Mario looked at me and he said, he's going to be one of the best players in the league. And when Mario Pouliot says that, you take notice. Because he's been around the game a long time. And I think with Lauku, I think he's going to be, and the big question is, where is he going to fit at the next level? Where is he going to play? Is he a centerman, or is he going to be a scoring winger? He has tremendous speed.
Unbelievable.
And it's just a timing and time and space thing. And he figured that out. He figured that out in the playoffs, and he figured that out in the Memorial Cup.
Oh, yeah.
You saw him set the wall, go to the net hard, and finish.
Yep.
And he's got a tremendous shot. I think, and this is what Pouliot told me, he thinks he's going to be a scoring winger at the next level. And you think about that. He can play left and right wing. He skates like the wind. You put him with a skilled guy that can get him the puck in the right areas, he's going to do some damage.
It's going to be dangerous, absolutely. But going back to that two-way game, I think that even when I was looking at his rookie year and early, I think away from the puck, it's development. I totally get it. But you could definitely see away from the puck he was struggling. But towards the middle of the season, right into the President Cup March and then obviously the Memorial Cup, that two-way game was so much stronger. So he's definitely getting a better idea of how things work over here and an incredible pace of when he learns. So I'm excited. I don't know where he's going to end up. I mean, you talk to the shiny new toy theorists, and they're like, I want him in the NHL. I don't see that, at least for one more season. I could even see him going back to the Q one more year.
I would love to see him come back to the Q. Selfishly, I'd love to watch him play. I think he's going to tear it up. But you hit the nail on the head right there. He's adjusting and adapting to the North American game. But where would I like to see him? I would like to see him on a wing with number 46. That's where I'd like to see him eventually.
Yeah.
I think they would have instant chemistry with And that's the type of player that Lauku needs to play with. A guy that is cerebral and that can get him the puck. And
yep. He is a playmaker.
And listen, I'll tell you, he doesn't shy away from the physical side either.
Oh, I saw that.
Right? He's your prototypical Bruin. Now, we talked about scouting. Okay? Whoever scouted that young man, okay, they did their homework, because this kid's going to be a really, really special player.
Speaking of special player, I'm not sure if you know a ton about this person, but blew it up this year with the Halifax Mooseheads, and his name is Samuel Asselin. Yeah. Hopefully I said that correctly.
Asselin, yep.
Asselin, okay, thank you.
Yep.
He had my question to you as a scout in the Q and a guy that's just always around these types of players. Why? I'm looking at his numbers, and I know we're not all stat driven and so on, but he seemed to, like, starting off with the Shawinigan and going to Katie Bathurst Teton. Did he win a Calder Cup with the Teton?
Yeah.
So no, I called the Cup. I'm sorry. Memorial Cup. Memorial Cup.
He was on that team, and he was a depth player on that team. So this year for Aslan was a real, coming out party with regards to goal scoring. But he scored in bunches, and he was so consistent. When Cam Russell made that trade, people looked, they're like, well, they had Jordan Marr. Why are you bringing in that guy? They trade, and the whole deal there. And but I want you to know that kid is heart and soul through and through. Had a phenomenal year. Put 45 up, Mark. 45.
48, bud.
Yeah, 48.
Yeah, 48, 38, and 86. That was an absolute career year in 68 games.
He's the type of player that will bite your arm off to get the puck.
So he'll do whatever it takes to advance and succeed.
Yeah, whatever it takes. And he's always around the puck. So going back to his time in Acadie Bathurst, wins the President's Cup, wins the Memorial Cup under Mario Pouliot. Pouliot is the ideal coach to get the best out of every player and to find their unique role. And Pouliot did that with Aslan, and is confident. You can see he was a confident player. And when, like I said, in Halifax, he was there, the
go-to. Yeah.
And I tweeted something out, and I was going to retweet it, and I said, no, I'm just going to leave it alone. Directly after the Memorial Cup, and Halifax had one heck of a season. They just went up against a really, really tough opponent.
Yeah.
In Rouen. Right after that, I tweeted out, win or lose, this kid deserves a pro contract. And like 2 weeks later, Providence, bam.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to see him, play at that level. And he's a guy that the first, right till like January, February, I think he's going to be an impact player. And I think it's just a matter of time. You look at that first year of pro hockey. Sure, there's going to be some growing pains there, but I think he's going to do very, very, very well at that level. And you're going to see, maybe a two-way contract come out of that.
Yeah, and he's got a 2-year AHL deal right now, which is it's obviously a show me. And if he can take those numbers that he did in the 2018-19 season with Halifax, and transition that into a game that head coach Jay Leach is teaching alongside with Trent Whitfield, I think that this kid is gonna make some noise even this year in the AHL. So,
but Mark, he can play it. He can play any style of game you want. oh, well, he's small. He's on the smallish side. I saw
5'10", 185.
I saw all the comments.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be another, Riendu and all this stuff. I saw all of those. No. This kid is heart and soul. He's a heart and soul player, and he's going to excel at that level. And
in the game of hockey these days, I refuse to do the size matters. You know what I mean? This game is built for everybody these days. And if you have skill, you shouldn't be shunned up by it just because you're a smaller player. So if you can put the puck in the net, and obviously he did. I mean, this guy's like almost a 2 point per game. Well, no, it's 1.5 points basically. But if you could transition that into the minor pro level, we're going to see something special.
Well, and here's a kid that went undrafted. Okay, did he go to NHL camps? But he's a winner. You can win with that type of player. He knows what it takes to win.
Yeah.
And he'll play any style. He can kill penalties. He's a sniper on the power play, as we witnessed this year. He drives the net hard. Every time he's on the ice, he makes something good happen. And, if you're, again, I don't like making comparisons. I don't like that at all. But you look at 63 and you look at Aslan, very, very similar type players. All right. Now, I think 63 is more skilled. Okay. But you look at Aslan, he's a good, solid skater and a good playmaker. He's got good vision too. But it's all about getting to those areas and into that open space. And I think, he proved it this year in Halifax that you put him in that open space in those dirty areas and he's willing. You get him the puck, he can finish. And again, I don't want to sound repetitive, but this kid's going to have a good season at the pro level.
I hope so. I'm hoping we have another chance to talk about him soon, sometime, beginning of the year. One more question that I kind of threw in there, and I'm not sure if you know this or not, but Bruins prospect defenseman Axel Anderson, he is hang on a second, I am so slow on my on the whole production here, but Axel Anderson was selected in the 2018 draft in the second round, 57th overall. And in the import draft, he was taken by the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, Moncton Wildcats. Any news on if he's going to report to the Q? But better, more or less, I want to know he did sign an entry-level deal as I was at development camp the year he was drafted. So I'm curious on where that's going to go. I know the contracts can slide and so on, but any word on if he's going to report or is he going to be Providence bound?
Well, I'll tell you this. When John Torchetti took over as the director of hockey operations and head coach of the Moncton Wildcats, things tightened up drastically. So from any news and any sources or leaking of information, I haven't heard. Okay. But I can tell you this. All right. They wouldn't have picked him. They wouldn't have picked him.
If they knew he was going. Okay. I got you.
And this is the year really for the Moncton Wildcats. They haven't gone all in, but when you go out and you acquire the best goaltender in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, in Olivier Rodrigue, that sends a message. And
you're building.
Right? So they had a very, very good draft. This Haru kid, you're going to hear this name. Okay? Haru. And he's a good two-way guy. And there's a lot of similarities between Haru and Jacob Pelche. But Haru is a bigger body and stronger, more, a lot stronger than Jacob was as a 16. So yeah, this is the year. Now, the Wildcats were dealt a big blow losing Jeremy McKenna. McKenna signed a one-year AHL deal with Stockton of the Calgary Flames. So
Yep.
he scored 40, 45, or 46 for the Wildcats a season ago. So getting back to your question, and people are saying, "Oh, well, why is he?" Well, they need offense on the blue line, right? And they need a guy that can skate, move the puck. They have Jordan Spence. Jordan Spence, LA Kings draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have a good year. But on the right side, this kid's going to come in, and I can't wait to see him. Now, saying that, you know, I don't know the depth chart in Providence, and maybe they want to, you know, play the 19-year-old kid down there, and they have that option. But for me, I don't think Moncton make that selection without knowing that he is coming, okay, to the hub city and playing at the state-of-the-art Avenir Center. And once he does, I think he's going to have a very successful year because right now I think the Moncton Wildcats are out to prove a lot of people wrong. And this is going to be like year 4 of their rebuilds. They want to win, and they're going to do everything in their power to win this season.
A quick question about Moncton. Is this the second year, or is this the first year of the new arena?
This is going to be year 2.
Okay, all right. So
it's beautiful. It really is.
They really have all the seals on the doors really tight if you don't hear anything.
Tell me about us. Everyone calls me. Yeah, have you heard anything? No, I haven't heard a thing.
Like I say on Twitter all the time, is you're my go-to for the Quebec guys. So, hey, just to wrap this whole thing up, one more thing is gaining traction. I heard it on Guy Fleming's program. I'm not sure the name again. I'm really terrible with names, but the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League president or commissioner. What is his name again?
Gilles Courteau?
Yep, that's it. Very good. Mentioned something Guy was talking about, the Pipeline Show. The Pipeline Show is the podcast that I listen to. And Mr. Courteau said that they are interested, and we talked about this, I think, 2 years ago when I had you on the first time, that American expansion is gaining traction again. And cities are now being mentioned, as in Manchester, New Hampshire, who lost their East Coast Hockey League affiliation or their team because they just shut the doors. And he also mentioned that if Lewiston, Maine, who had the Maniacs back in the day, if they don't upgrade their arena at the Lewiston, that there won't be a return there. So are you hearing anything? Is that gaining anything at all? I know I'm trying to get so much information, but it just seems like the more I read and the more I listen to these junior programs and podcasts, it's really picking up. And I know that other leagues in the CHL, like the Ontario League, they have Flint and Michigan, and the WHL, they have the Tri-City and Portland and so on. They have their Western American division. Can the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League come over the border and be successful? And another little nugget I'm going to add to that is, can they cross the border as union members?
Oh, wow.
Because isn't that picking up too in the courts? Or is that still a mess? Yeah.
Some great questions, Mark. First of all, I was able to interview Mr. Courteau about 2 seasons ago, and we talked about expansion or a return to Newfoundland. And at that time, Gilles said that it would have to be a buy or a sale and relocation. They weren't looking to do an expansion draft or whatever. It would be a buy or sell and move. So new owners take the club and relocate to Newfoundland. We've been hearing that they want. Okay, it'd be very, very good for the league to be in Newfoundland, because a lot of those players that are on the Rock are leaving. They're leaving, and Alex Newhook is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And listen, I'm not here to say one league's better than the other. That's not my place to say.
Yeah, mine either.
I'm walking on a very fine line here when I say this. It's the players' discretion. It's their players and families' discretion. Sure, would I have loved to see Alex Newhook in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League? I would have, because he's a phenomenal young man and a great player. But I think for the league, I think a move to Newfoundland would be very, very good. So what are the chances of the league expanding south of the border? I'm not sure. I think, sure, would they love to go back? Yes. I think it's the same idea and same mindset of a return to Newfoundland. It would have to be a sale and transfer of the team. I don't think you're going to see that. From a union perspective, it's in the media, really across the CHL.
Yeah.
And I haven't done a lot of research in that area, so I can't really speak to that.
Okay.
From a Quebec Major Junior Hockey League perspective, I go to the ring to watch the best 15-year-olds in the Maritimes play, and that's my job. Yeah. So I don't want to, putting my media hat on, sure, would it be great to see the league expand? Of course. You want expansion, you want growth, you want development, you want to see those young players from the Eastern Seaboard in the United States, possibly playing the Q as well. You'd love to see that, and it'd be good for the game. And it'd be also good for the game if the league chose to return to Newfoundland. Yeah. But from a speculation standpoint, I don't know about the union, and I certainly don't know much more than that with regards to relocation or expansion. Awesome.
Yeah, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up is because what is gaining traction is the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League has the rights to the 6 New England states. So if a New Englander wants to play there, you can cross the border and absolutely go there and get a wonderful development experience in that league. I love the Q. I'm a huge fan. Even though as an American I don't understand the language, I still watch the games. I really do. Because you do hear the names. And when you hear a name, you pop up and you're like, oh yeah, that's my boy. But anyway, one thing that I have been picking up a lot lately is some of the kids in the New England states that are contemplating college, NCAA, have expressed experience, saying that they would love to play in the Q, but it's the whole border thing and so on. By having teams that are located in maybe northern New England would give their parents and families an opportunity to go see them when they make the rounds. So that's something to be considered if the Q really wanted to tap into that where the NCAA is and so on. But I just thought it was an interesting topic to say.
Well, for the last 2 seasons, the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League has had an American draft. Okay, the day after a few days after the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League draft.
Yeah,
and so that's great. You look at 2 New Englander kids that excelled up here and had tremendous seasons and careers here. Would be Cam Askew.
Oh, you said Askew. I was just about to say that.
and Connor Garland.
Okay.
And you look at you look at their progression and development in the league. You know, Connor Garland, just outstanding career, like monumental numbers.
Right.
And ask you, with Cam is, you know, there's a perfect example of a kid that never quit and never quit on his dream. And,
Boston boy.
That's right. And, you know, he had a great year in Carolina with the Stingrays. So hopefully, you know, Cam will hook on and sign an American Hockey League deal very soon. And Connor Garland, what a breakout year for that young man in Arizona.
Nice. All right, Craig, I think that's it. I think that I've taken up enough of your time. Once again, I so tremendously appreciate this opportunity to talk again. We are going to do many more of these, I promise. We're going to do, I would like to have you on at least once a month if everything works out. If everything works out, I know the weekends are busy with you covering the Q in your area and so on, but we should plan on something, because definitely if Axel Anderson's going to be there and
Lauku.
Yeah, Lauku with a return to Rouyn-Noranda. We'd love to get more information on them from your eye test and definitely talk more hockey, because you're a Bruins fan and through and through, and I know you have a serious passion for this, so that's why you're my go-to.
Thanks, Mark. It's always a pleasure to come on, and continued success in everything you guys are doing down there. And it's a real pleasure to come on and talk Bruins and talk hockey. And one last thing, it's whenever talking with you and seeing the content that you guys are putting out, it's really good for the game, and it's good for the black and gold, and you guys do it right.
Awesome, dude. That is so much. I'm going to use that as a soundbite every time now. Yeah, just when somebody pumps the tires, I'm like, here's Craig Eagles. All right, Craig, you are a color analyst for the Rogers TV New Brunswick, and you can be found on Twitter at Eags37. That's EAGS37. Craig, thank you so much, man. And it looks like you and your family are having a great off season. I see the pictures on Facebook. It's awesome. Good family time. Keep enjoying it. Keep doing what you're doing, and keep writing those great stories. And if anybody doesn't follow Craig, please follow him, because he does a tremendous job covering hockey as a whole aspect, not just the Q, but as a great ambassador of the sport. So thank you so much, Craig. I really appreciate it, and we will definitely talk soon.
Thanks, Mark. Thank
you very much, everybody, for listening, and thank you very much for talking. This was the first YouTube interview that we're doing, so this is an inaugural, and I really appreciate Greg's time. So thank you for listening. Thank you for paying attention. We will be back very soon, so stay tuned.